So this video is going to show you how you can start refining your massing. We're in a stage here where we probably have a clay model. And by clay model, I mean a model where there's no distinction between the different programs, right? It's just a large block. And you can kind of get the size and the scale of it, right? That's the first sort of stage. Now we're moving into what we're calling the Lego model, where we're defining all of the pieces that interlock together, so that before the end of this week, and when we start to move into a program like Revit, we have a really good diagrammatic understanding of our building, how the pieces all interact, how the structure can start to go into onto the grid and affect multi-story spaces, and how things like the circulation work, right? Just a good sort of understanding of our buildings. So I'm in a work session file here. And by the way, a few people have asked, do I import the ground floor plan? I had hopes that I would give you, a ground floor plan and a mid floor plan and a crown floor plan, but I think the easiest way right now is, if you just want to get working, go ahead and import the ground floor plan regardless of your discipline. It's going to populate with all of those layers, so you have the sort of circulation and all of that stuff, and you could just go ahead and delete the ground back of house, right? I don't need any of the ground back of house if I'm working on, say, the tower. So that's going to be this example showing you how to fill out the tower with residential spaces. If I accidentally delete something that I need, then I can just make a new layer, and I can change the color to something that I know that it's of the same color scheme. So for instance, I created a mechanical room layer here, and I'm clicking this color profile editor, and I can use the eyedropper, and I can drag over to one of the other layers which I know I need to use. So once you have that set, I'm working in the tower here. So let's say I wanted to start filling out my tower with actual residential units. It might seem daunting to have to fill this with hundreds of units, but really you could sort of break it down into where the similarities are, and then go ahead and chip away at where the dissimilarities are. For instance, I have a core here where I can see all of the residential units would essentially be the same, so I can just copy and paste those up. Or I can start at the bottom and then understand that once I get to this level, then I'm going to have to create a new thing that I copy and paste, and then a new thing and a new thing. So there's different ways to approach it, and again, you guys have all the tools to be able to finish this project. It's just maybe knowing what the steps are, in what order. So I'm in a work session here. I'm in the tower. I'm just working for the tower, so I'm in, say, the architectural discipline, and I've linked in maybe all of my other groups' work, right? So here that's just lumped together into working file spring. You can see on that working file spring, I could turn it all off. It includes the site, and then if I turn the massing off, you can see that maybe this is what one of my partners are working on for the ground floor, right? So you should all come together for all of your plans and understand what each of your members are doing, but in the end, because there's a lot of stuff to model, we're only requiring that each discipline does a subset of things, and that is the podium, the tower, and the crowns. And that means you're going to have different things to model. I know a really easy way to divide this then is to say that, hey, I'm going to model everything between 72 feet and 550 feet. That's all of the architect's responsibility. So because I can't modify this stuff, right? It's not on my layer. I would want a couple things. I would go to the grid line layer, and that is in the sort of generic working file that I have. And I'm just going to right click and select the objects. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to turn the vertical on, and I'm essentially bringing my grid up to where I need it to be. I can then select everything here. I can make a new layer, and I can call this grid lines. And we are going to change this to a dark gray, and then change that object, right? And because I can select a bunch of different things and change the layer, it's not going to change the things that it won't allow me to change, because these are on a different file. So that's a tip with work sessions, right? You can't manipulate their geometry. You can only manipulate your geometry. So that works for copying and Booleaning and stuff too. But anyways, now I have a grid here, and I'm going to go use the Polyline tool. And I actually want to be on a new layer. Actually, I could do this on the default layer. So let's go to the Polyline, and I just want to create an outline of my building so I know where my footprint is. There are many ways to do this, by the way. There's no one single method. This is just a recommendation. Now I can go ahead and turn the massing of that building off. You actually could turn that entire file off, right? And now you're just building your own portion of the project. I'm going to go to the residential units that I've imported from the ground floor plan. Double click that, not the residential units on the working file. And now I can just based on my sketches, place boxes. And if, for instance, I'm placing this, I don't know the exact height, but my massing does know that height, I can turn that stuff on, and then I can go to that height. So I can be very fluid with manipulating my layers. So I'm going to copy this. Let's rotate that 90 degrees. You might have like a bunch of these units, right? And I'm just going to move this and try to fit it into this curve, which I've outlined the base. And you'll probably want to do this, for every sort of portion that changes. So I would do this for the T portion, but then also the sort of L portion, and then the sort of smaller I portion, I guess. I can also go to my circulation layer, and I can I can double click onto the corridors, and that's how I would make like a corridor box. It'll be up to you as to whether you want to model the elevators and stuff, or if you want to leave the elevators up to the person who is responsible for the elevators. I know a few groups have just taken everything 72 feet and down as the podium, whether that be vertical circulation or whatever, and that's because you all have these layers based on that layout that I gave you. But I also know that some people are extruding their fire stairs all the way up, and so you don't have to double model that if you don't want to. You might have to double model it for the diagram in the end, but either way, I think you're on track to just modeling what you need to model. So I'm going to turn on my massing again here, and I'm just going to copy and paste this stuff, right? So if I know there are things that are overlapping, I can copy and paste it, I can array it. If you really want to get efficient, I would look at the blocks tutorial. I talked about the parking garage as a block. Well, these can also be a block, so let's take these two extrusions. I'll make a block here. Whoops, there we go, hit OK. And now you can see that one block instance is added. And if I manipulate this by double clicking that block instance or doing block edit command, and if I delete one of these, you can see, well, I don't have any copied, so let me copy this up. Well, that's fine. Now if I double click and get in one of these and delete one of these rooms, you can see all of those rooms are now deleted. So not a necessary step, but consider it. Any way that you get this thing filled out will be fine. Just go with your own flow. And talk to your group members always, add new layers, take new layers, old layers away, and consider where each member is sort of starting and stopping their responsibilities. You guys just have to talk to each other and figure out who's modeling what so that you don't have any redundancies maybe built in. So in the end, when we're going to move to diagrams in the next tutorial, it'll be very easy to just turn off everybody else's stuff, and then you'll just be left with what you modeled for your diagram.